Come on and tell your story. Come on and tell your story. Come on and tell your story. Motivated every day. Living in victory every day. Living in victory every day. No matter what they say. No matter what they say. Living in victory every day. Living in victory every day. No matter what they say. Living in victory every day.
Welcome everyone. I am excited to introduce our brand new program, Nicole Larsen L.I.V.E, Living in Victory Every Day. It's about inspiration, it's about motivation, it's about life, it's about journeys. And we have special guests who are going to be sharing their insight on how they traversed, how they traveled this life journey with you, with me. It's all about hope. Please join us. It's Nicole Larsen L.I.V.E, Living in Victory Every Day. Live a life of victory and find peace and hope in today's troubled world. Visit us at Holiness Revival Ministries. Call 628-7407 or 622-5826.
Jen Style customizes cards, limitless in expressions. For special occasions, call 1-868-7N-STYLE. Instagram Jen Style Cards TT, Facebook at Jen Style.
Nicole Larsen L.I.V.E, Living in Victory Every Day. I am so delighted to be with you today, and I'm pretty sure that you're going to be enjoying your time with us here for the next 13 or so weeks. I have a special guest. She's special to me because I've known her for quite some time, and I've seen her grow up, and I've seen her go through some life complexities, and I've wondered to myself, how does she do it? So for our first show, I said to myself, the only person that I would want to start these episodes off would be this young lady, Pitan Bartholomew Jeremy. How are you, my love?
I'm so thrilled and pleased and honored to be here with you, Nicole, live. It's an honor.
It is so good to have you. You know, I've been looking at you growing up. We spoke off camera.
Yes.
We were talking about, you know, in your early days and who you are now, and, you know, some of the complexities, some of the things that you would have gone through. And you're here still standing. So when I think of this program, Living in Victory Every Day, you stand out for me. And for those of you who may not know who she is, she's going to tell you. She's going to tell you a little bit about her story. Pitan, let me start off. It was in 2018 where something happened. And I'm just going to say something. I'm going to allow you to elaborate on that something.
Yes, Nicole, it was 2018, January the 29th, to be precise. I was at work. It was a regular day, and I got a phone call. It was a call from my mother-in-law, and she was out of breath. And she said, Pitan, your husband, they can't find him. They can't find him. And that was a moment that I will never forget, because it changed the course of my life.
You got that call from your mother-in-law saying,
Yes.
They can't find your husband. What was the first thing you did when mother-in-law said, we can't find your husband?
Well, the first thing I did, I had to compose her, because she was very emotional, and I just needed to stop for a moment. I needed to stop. I needed to understand what was happening. How could they not find him? He went into the water to do a dive, and there should have been communication from the divers in the water to those who were on the boat, in the vessel. And how could you lose him? How could you not find him? So my first thing was to just try to understand what was going on.
What were your first thoughts when you got the news that hubby was missing?
Well, my first thoughts were that of confusion. I couldn't understand what I was hearing. What do you mean you can't find him? He was a diver. He went into the water to inspect a vessel, and he was supposed to come back up, and he didn't, and he was missing. And you know, this launched days of searches. Air guards, the Coast Guard, anybody who had a fishing boat, they were looking for him, and we did that for 17 days.
And let me tell you something. The whole of Trinidad and Tobago were looking and praying with you. And
Thank
I
you so
think,
much.
and I am pretty sure that you would have felt.
I did.
You would have felt it.
I did.
Did that in some way give you hope?
Yes.
Knowing that people are there saying, we've got to find him, we're standing with her. And let me ask you something. Why were you so resilient? Why were you able to stand and look so calm in a time where somebody would be frazzled?
You know, Nicole, that is not something that someone can plan for. This was not rehearsed. This was not, we didn't know this was going to happen. And so that was real life that was happening. And what happened years before. And I just want to just give God thanks right now for my parents and for my father in particular, who is a minister of the gospel, who would have planted seeds in my life from a young age. And so when my season came, my season of sorrow came, the fruit, you know, the Bible says, and he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water. And the verse talks about the roots spreading and the leaves being green. But then it speaks about the tree shall bear its fruit in its season. And at that season in my life, I needed a season, I needed a fruit of joy for my season of despair, for my season of sorrow. And God provided that fruit that I needed at that time.
There was a joy
Yes.
that came through. There
Unspeakable.
was a peace. It's amazing.
That passeth all understanding.
And let me tell you something. You would write on social media, and we would get encouraged. And I'm saying, but isn't it supposed to be the other way around? Because this is someone who is actually waiting for her husband to appear, because you stood strong. And you would write these verses, and I would get encouraged. People would get encouraged by it. So it was almost as though your sorrow and your pain, God was using it for other people.
And I have heard so many reports about that. I think it was therapy. It was therapy
Yes,
for myself. I had to really, as the Word of God says, encourage myself in the Lord. And what I needed to do at that time, when there were so many voices, you know, one day a man, he came, he was a diver as well, and he said, I got a call, it was the third day, he said, let me tell you what you're going to hear tomorrow. Tomorrow you're going to hear that they have found him. He has floated to the top. He would be decomposed. He would be smelling awful. And I'm listening to him on the phone because he is just giving me the cold, hard facts. And at that time, I said, I don't believe it. I don't accept it. And I remembered, like, that just gave me an extra oomph inside of me to just continue to hold on to what I believed. But even in the writing every day, it was more for me than anybody else, for me to remember the
it
Word
was
of God.
therapeutic for you as well. I want to talk about your children, because they played such an integral role. I remember you sharing with me about your little son who said certain things to you, and I'm saying to myself, oh my goodness, where on earth would he have gotten that sort of wisdom? But then again, you talk about your father, you talk about your family and grounded in Christ. And so he would have known how to stay strong even in the midst of adversity. And there he was, the little one, telling Mommy, tell us, could you remember? Do you remember?
Yes, there was, we were praying, and he was praying, and he said something that I don't even think he understood what he was saying. He said, I don't believe this is a Jonah experience, but it is a Job experience. And I said, this little 11-year-old boy, what does he know about the difference in those experiences? At that point, we were still waiting, we were still praying, we were still believing, because we believe it is yes until God says no.
And when we come back, we'll find out about that experience. Nicole Larsen L.I.V.E, living in victory every day.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzoneTT.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
What's the best way to grab the attention of viewers?
Please exercise more patience. You have to be kidding me.
Doing what we do best.
I'll say at the very least it's a conspiracy of laziness against the people.
Join me, Keaton Shaw.
And me, Sean Michael Small, for Talking Point.
Weekdays from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
We go in-depth on the trending issues and engage the most controversial newsmakers
as we get them to account to the people for their actions.
You can't go to the government with nothing. You can't go to cabinet with an empty hand, with a wish.
I'm glad that we're having this a sober, mature discussion.
In the present situation, I expect a continuation of the chaos.
Join us for the discussion, Mondays to Fridays,
only on WESN,
the content capital.
People really want to know, what about me? Where do I fit? Yes. What is in the ride for me in terms of a better Trinidad and Tobago? And I'm pleased to shed some light on that.
The purpose of bail is to ensure your attendance at court. That's it. It is not punitive, it is not rehabilitative.
We the police officers, we are professional, and we are here for whenever the survivor is ready to come forward.
We have the right to private and family life, the right to religious freedoms and beliefs and thoughts and expression. But these rights are not absolute. Certain rights can be limited.
The law is to govern the whole, it's for all of us in public.
Welcome back. This is Nicole Larsen L.I.V.E, living in victory every day, and we continue our conversation. And if you're anything like me, I just can't wait to hear the continuation of this story, especially from the little one, the little son.
He referenced two characters in the Bible. One was Jonah and one was Job. Now Jonah, if you don't know, was a prophet, and he, because of disobedience, he ended up in the belly of a fish, a big fish. And he was there for 3 days, and then he was released. Now, we endured our season of looking for Siobhan for 17 days, and I'm referencing what he said, and he did not believe it was a Jonah experience, but a Job experience. Now, Job, when you think of Job, you think about a great degree of hardship, losses after losses. He lost children, he lost livestock, he lost his wealth, he lost everything. And yet he stood. He stood. He did not turn his back on God. And I couldn't understand how he said that. And it was only after I understood the depth of what he spoke about at that time.
11 years old. And he had that reassurance about Daddy.
Yeah.
He knew his father, even in this situation. Yeah. You know, I'm talking to you and I'm trying not to relive it, because we all were in so much hope. We all were so wanting you to come out saying, we found him and we all live happily ever after. It didn't happen that way.
No.
It didn't happen that way. But yet you stood strong. You were victorious. Listen, you need to bottle whatever you have and sell it. We need it.
I can only say, I do have a calm disposition. My personality is like that. But it is so much more than that. It is a knowledge. It was and still is a knowledge of knowing that the God I serve is able to keep me in spite of whatever life brings. It was that knowledge of knowing who He is, His capability, His strength, His power, His awesomeness. I think I kept that in my mind even as I went through. I just kept it in my mind. He's able, He's able.
You know, Peter, and for those who are listening right now and they're saying, this God that you're talking about, if He's so loving and kind, why did He allow this to happen? Because there are people right now that are crying, they're weeping, they've been through, you know, and they need that hope. And this is why I'm feeling this program is so important, that we give hope in the midst of the storm. We are not saying that tough challenges aren't going to happen, you know, but it's how you navigate them that you can be victorious. Speak to these people who are saying, but what about me? What about me? I want what you have.
I can say, Nicole, that I understand. I understand. I know what it is to feel like you have lost everything. I know what it feels like to have 2 children and you need to figure out how you're going to get through life. I remember thinking about my daughter. She was 6 at the time, and I'm thinking, who's going to walk her down the aisle? And I would cry about that because we were supposed to grow old together. We were supposed to, you know, raise our children together. We were supposed to be there with grandchildren. But what I do know is that God is sovereign. And because I became a mom, when I became a mom, I understood that a bit better. You know, when we tell our children to do something, the first thing they will say is, why? Maybe not in our days, because we might have get a little back slap from mommy. But today, our children say, why? And we get the if we feel to, we just don't have to give an explanation. We just need to say, because I said so. You do it because I said so. And I felt like that, like just a little child, like, God, why? Why did you allow it? And I don't get to write my story. He's writing my story. I don't know my tomorrow. I don't know past the second, but He knows. And it's a trust in that He said all things work together for good. It may not look good, but it works together. It all comes together for good to them who love Him and to those who are called according to His purpose. So that's that hope that we hold on to. That's the hope I hold on to, that He is sovereign, He is God, and He is in control.
Indeed, He is. You know, even as you were talking, there was a question that came to mind about when you have a spouse and you have maybe a disagreement, and you know how sometimes you may want to carry this on for days and weeks.
Yes.
We don't hold tomorrow.
No.
Your husband left your home and you were expecting him to come back.
Yes.
He didn't.
You know, Nicole, it's funny that you said that, because the day before he went on that fateful dive, we had a disagreement. We fell out. And the old me, the me back then, I wasn't talking to you, right? You're getting that silent treatment. He was on one side of the house and I am on the other side. But the night he got the call, he said, should I take this job? And we started to talk about it, and I said, yes, go ahead and take it. And you know, the next morning we were up early because he had to leave at 4 o'clock, getting him ready, getting his things together. We held hands, we prayed, and you're right. Yeah. If I left him, if I allowed him to leave with that bitterness, or with that anger, or it may not have been anger so deep, but if I allowed him to leave with that, I would have regretted it.
Yeah.
Forever.
But you have those memories. You have those memories of a husband and children and a support mechanism of thousands of people. Yeah. And alas, the story continues.
It does.
Yes. Share where you are now for us.
Well, Nicole,
I heard your voice change when you said, well, when we come back, you will talk to us about that. Well,
yes.
When we come back.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Chez Jean Designs in San Fernando provides customized clothing from sassy to corporate, conservative to casual. Email janicecazo@gmail.com or call 793-1668 for consultations.
Live a life of victory and find peace and hope in today's troubled world. Visit us at Holiness Revival Ministries. Call 628-7407 or 622-5826.
Gen Style customizes cards, limitless in expressions. For special occasions, call 1-868-7N-STYLE. Instagram Gen Style Cards TT, Facebook at Gen Style.
Back with you on Nicole Larsen L.I.V.E, living in victory every day. And before we went to the break, you were about to tell us, and this is Petan Bartholomew Jeremy, her story, and it's getting even more exciting. Let's hear about that lady.
You know, God has a funny way of doing things, and he does it in his own way with his own style and flair. And, you know, shortly after, actually, while in the funeral service, my very good friend and big sister, Pastor Arlene Paul, she was bringing the word at the funeral. And while she was there, she says, you know, I'm praying for you. I'm praying that you get a husband quickly. And at that time, I said, what is she talking about? She herself at that time was a widow. And she accepted that position at that time. And I'm saying, why is she saying that? Why you know, I'm not even, that is nowhere. But the Lord spoke to me. It was a couple months after Siobhan had passed away, and he said, I'm going to bless you with a beautiful man in quick time, and you will be surprised. I could say quote and unquote. And I was so surprised. Here was this man, Mr. Jeremy. Now, if anybody knows me, I liked the tall, dark, and handsome kind of guy. And here was this red West Indian cherry. And I mean, I would say, you know, he was not my cup of tea.
Yeah. Oh, come on, don't tell me that. He is so gorgeous, but you wanted
he was not my cup of tea.
You wanted it dark and tall.
I wasn't looking there.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking there. And so, you know, that was one of the ways I knew it was God. It was God. And here he came into my life.
Oh, gosh.
And I knew that this was a gift. This was a gift. It was God saying in this package of a man, I love you.
Oh.
And I had to accept the gift.
Yeah.
And that was a challenge to move from the grieving period, to move from that season.
And I want you to talk a little bit about that, because there it is now. There's someone that seems to be the person that God is putting in your life. But at the same time, you are still in that grieving process. How did you maneuver the two?
I'm so happy you asked that question, because it's such a work in progress. It's so challenging. You know, what helped was the fact that my husband was also a widower. So he suffered the loss of his first wife. So we had a mutual understanding. We understood each other. And even to today, you know, as we maneuver, as we grow, as we go through life together, we both had children, and we would remember mommy or daddy who passed away. We want to keep them alive in the minds of the children. We want to respect and we want to honor them and respect the children when they need it, if they need space, if they need time, you know. And so it's a whole story of growing together as this new family, a blended family, and I know you know about blended families and the challenges that may present, but we don't have time for that today.
How did they, when there is this man coming and he's saying, I want to come into your life, you know, did they for any reason think, who are you to come in and take the place of my daddy? What did they see him as to you?
You know, I think very early on, I tried to have really frank and candid conversations with the children. And I told them, you know, if mommy is going to get married, it is going to be, and I started to develop scenarios for them to start to think about it. And they, from the get-go, let me tell you, it could have been maybe a month after my 6-year-old daughter, she probably just turned 7, she said, you're not getting a boyfriend? Let me tell you, I don't know, this boy and this girl, this Zion and this Zoe, God gave them a heart and a mind to be open and to be receptive. He took them through the grief of the loss of their father in such a miraculous way. I knew that I was so well, I managed so well because they managed well. God took them through it. And so he was helping me through them. You know, God used them in amazing ways, and they were open. They were open.
Yeah. So as they say, and now the rest is history. There's a blended family, and God really is awesome. And that's why I love this program. It's about living in victory every day. And we're not talking about not having adversity. We're speaking about those challenges, those complexities of life, how we maneuver. And we're going to be having a lot of people, such as your good self, come and share with us. You know, but I had to have you for this very first program. I really had
Thank
to
you.
have you.
Thank you
You
so
are
much.
such a darling. You're a blessing. What are you up to these days? Can I ask you? You're a singer. You're a mother. I think you were also into interior decorating. Am I correct?
Well, you know, it's amazing. It's that you asked me that question now, because I'm actually at a season in my life where I have actually stepped back.
Okay.
I believe he's taking me into a new season, into something totally new, and I just stopped.
Yeah.
I've stopped, and I am listening.
You keep talking about listening to God, and you did that when you heard that your husband was in that accident. You always wait on him, and again, we have to know that there are people listening and saying, I wish I could hear that God that she's talking about. How do I get to know him the way that she does so that I can hear? Because I've got some problems and they're big, you know, they're mountainous.
You know, when we develop a relationship with someone, when you become close to someone without seeing them, like if you pick up the phone and you hear someone on the other line, instinctively you would know who it is if it's someone that you have built a relationship with. They don't need to introduce themselves, they don't need to say their names, they just need to say hi. And you know it's them.
So it's getting to know them.
Yeah.
So in the next 40 seconds that we have left, if there's anybody listening and they've had similar experiences of grief, losing a loved one, what would you say to them?
I would say He is our comforter. He promised that he will never leave us. And because he is not like man, because he is the God, it is a promise that we can hold on to. We can hold on to with eyes closed, like little children. He just wants us to trust him, to have faith in him. He is going to work it out. He's got your back.
Thank you for being here with me.
Thank you so much,
this
Nicole.
morning.
Thank you.
Nicole Larsen L.I.V.E, living in victory every day. Let's hear from today's expert, Nicole Cadogan-Lewis.
Thank you. So I'm here to share about grief. And grief, by simple definition, is a normal response to loss. When we experience a loss, it affects us emotionally, mentally, behaviorally, socially, physically, and spiritually, all areas of our lives. Now, there are different types of losses that we experience. There's the primary loss, for example, the death of a loved one, for example, a spouse, a child, a friend, divorce. We can experience loss, or even if we have a surgery and we lose a body part, a womb or a limb, those are primary losses. And then we have secondary losses, which is the domino effect from the primary loss. So, for example, with the death of a spouse, we may experience a loss of companionship, loss of how things used to be, dreams and goals for the future, aspirations, loss of having children or raising our children together, building a home, building a business, just growing old together as a result of loss. Everyone grieves differently. So there are different stages of grief according to Kubler-Ross. There's the first stage of denial, where there's frustration and numbness. You know, we just can't believe this person is gone. And then there's anger, where there's frustration and irritability. The fight mode has been activated, and we are angry at ourselves for not picking up on the person going and die, or we're angry at the person who has passed away, or we're angry at everybody around us. And then there's bargaining, where we struggle to understand what is going on, why this had to happen. And we ask questions like, I should have, if only I was aware of, I would have told the person not to go there. And then we have depression, which can be very overwhelming. We feel helpless, we feel hopeless, we feel purposeless, and the flight mode is activated. We don't want anyone around us. And then there's acceptance, where we are processing and reflecting, and we recognize that the person is really gone. What is important to note is that the process is not linear. Sometimes it goes in order as I have listed, and then we might just go straight to anger, or we may slip into depression, or we may experience all of them at the same time. That is normal, and it is okay. How can we cope with grief? First, you have to be patient with yourself. This process takes a while, it takes time. My second point, time. Even though it takes time, time alone will not heal. You cannot heal what you do not acknowledge. So you have to go through the feelings and the thoughts and emotions with people that you love and who care about you, like family and friends. With that in mind, you have to connect to your support system, connect with your friends and family. And if they cannot help, then you have to ask for professional help, such as a social worker, counselor, psychologist, or even a trained religious leader. I hope this little talk on grief and the grieving process will help you to understand a little more about losses in our lives. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nicole.
Live a life of victory and find peace and hope in today's troubled world. Visit us at Holiness Revival Ministries. Call 628-7407 or 622-5826.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Site, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m. only on WESN, Content Capital.
Chez Jean Designs in San Fernando provides customized clothing from sassy to corporate, conservative to casual. Email janicecazo@gmail.com or call 793-1668 for consultations.
When Ayana died, that was shocking. You know, instantly I was like numb. I went and just jumped in my car, pick up them kids from the hospital, and drop them home. All of us went in the room, and they was crying, and I tell them, you know what, we had to go through this together. And before people came, I just went for a long drive, you know. I was real, like, in a state of shock. For a couple mornings, well, I used to take some drive and go down on the beach 5 o'clock in the morning and just try to figure out what really take place, what really happened in my life, what really take place there, what really going on. And for that period, I stayed there for a while, numb. I started liming, partying, drinking. Now that I gained socializing, the unconscious socializing is what we need to check, because I was just doing it to avoid being home. I don't want to be in the bedroom because it's not the same anymore. And that went on for a while, for like about probably a year. But my wake-up call was, you know, that weekend, a party back to back. You know, I wouldn't go lie, I enjoyed it, but when I reached home, I found I was getting a scent. And when I realized the children was attempting to stew chicken that was already spoiling because they leave it out too long. And when I check it, I say, but now why shall I, you know, I had to check myself, but, you know, they done lost mommy. I can't just not be home. And I just put myself to sit down and had a real serious conversation with myself. And right there and then, that was my wake up and to start to assume my responsibility as a dad.
Grow through what you go through. Sometimes you have to hold on, and other times you have to let go. I love this quote. You may be given a cactus, but you don't have to sit on it. Wow. You can be happy, hurting, and healing all at the same time. You can grow through whatever you are going through. Growth and experience work hand in hand. You can't beat a person who has experience. Many times we feel unsure of how to go about things, and we feel totally inadequate and scared to death. But the message of faith is about God's power and not of us, lest any one of us could boast. God is determined to bring out the best of us in every situation we face. The wisdom of man is foolishness with God. But just as it is written, things which eye has not seen and ear has not heard, and which have not entered the human heart, all that God has prepared for those who love him. 1 Corinthians 2:9. This is June Doyle, author and motivational speaker, signing out. Keep positivity alive. Let's make the world a better place for you and for me and for everyone.
What a tremendous testimony, my guest, Peter and Bartholomew Jeremy. Thank you for sharing your story of hope. Sheldon Wiley for your powerful testimony, and words of wisdom from therapist Nicole Cadogan Lewis, and inspiration from the desk of June Doyle. Coming up, singer Mark Isaac, Grateful for Life.
Yeah. Anybody grateful for life? Come on. All the grateful people. Turn your volume up. Let's go. Let's go. Listen. Forgive all my fussing, admit it, I know it's absurd. All my complaining, oh Jesus, I'm sorry you heard that. See, life isn't perfect, but I know that you hold my world. And I know I ain't perfect, but you seem to be so concerned with me. If that ain't reason to sing, I don't really know what is. Woo! I'm gonna change my perspective and give you the best of me, the best of me. I choose to be the one that's grateful for life. I choose to be the one to say thank you because I'm still alive. I choose to have gratitude. My soul is safe with Christ. I choose to be, yeah, the grateful one. Come on, all my grateful people, give me a little wave like this. Woo! Whoa, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Listen. See, now that I think of it, all of these problems ain't worth it. And now I remember you told me I'll never worry at all. See, life isn't perfect, but I know that you hold my world. And I know I ain't perfect, but you seem to be so concerned with me. If that ain't reason to sing, I don't really know what is. But I'm gonna change my perspective, give you the best of me, the best of me. I choose to be the one that's grateful for life. I choose to be the one to say thank you because I'm still alive. And I choose to have gratitude. My soul is safe with Christ. I choose to be, yeah, the grateful one. Anybody grateful? Are you really, really grateful? Woo, woo. Anybody grateful? Anybody grateful? Are you really, really grateful? Come on. Hey. I know life could get hard. And I know sometimes people take you off. Sometimes you gotta change your perspective. Focus all your attention on the best things in life. I choose to be the one that's grateful for life. I choose to be the one to say thank you because I'm still alive. And I choose to have gratitude. My soul is safe with Christ. I choose to be the grateful one. Oh, I choose to be the one to say thank you because I'm still alive. And I choose to have gratitude. My soul is safe with Christ. I choose to be the grateful one. Yeah, yeah. The grateful one. Oh, yeah. I choose to be, yeah, yeah, the grateful one. Anybody grateful? If you're really, really grateful, somebody wave your hands with me. Now. If you're really grateful, if you're really grateful, yeah, the grateful one.
Thank you for joining us for our premiere episode of Nicole Larsen Live. I trust you've been motivated and inspired to live a life of victory. And so be sure to tune in next week right here for another edition of Nicole Larsen Live, living in victory every day.